An eye for an eye, that's what Donald Trump is promising China. Trump will take office next month and he's already issuing threats. He has vowed to impose a 10% tax on Chinese imports. This is on top of the existing tariffs. The move is bound to raise trade tensions between the two rivals. Beijing is now bracing for impact. Xi Jinping, the Chinese president, is trying to mitigate the risk of higher tariffs. He's planning a spending spree. He held a meeting with China's Politburo. These are the country's top 24 leaders, the Politburo, and the outcome of the meeting was a statement. It said that China will go easy on interest rates. You know what this is about? China's monetary policy. Interest rates on different kinds of loans. And with this statement, China is sending a signal. It wants to keep the cost of borrowing low. This is a major shift. For the first time in 14 years, China is signaling that it wants to ease interest rates. The idea is quite clear, boosting cash flow into the economy. When you lower interest rates, loans become cheaper, so more cash circulates in the system. Beijing wants to do that for the first time in 14 years. It is also planning another stimulus package, again to inject more cash. These moves are welcome, but they come too late because China's economy has already tanked. Domestic consumption is sluggish, government debt is high, the property sector has collapsed. And China will miss its growth target. It is official now. This year's target was 5%. As of today, China is growing at around 4%. The only way to push this number is through stimulus. It's something that Beijing has been reluctant to do. But they don't really have a choice anymore. Xi Jinping has finally decided to pull the trigger. Both investors and observers are cheering the news. Chinese stocks saw a rally today. But this optimism could be short-lived because Donald Trump is waiting in the wings, ready to start a trade war. If and when he does, can China spend its way out of this crisis? Their premier is already sounding an alarm. That's Li Qiang. He's worried about the growing curbs on trade.
If we look at the obstacles to economic globalization, some countries now easily resort to imposing additional high tariffs, erecting barriers of protection. There are more and more restrictive measures on trade.
Li Qiang did not name anyone. He did not have to. He's clearly referring to the West. China faces a tough trade environment there. Joe Biden has restricted the flow of Western technology to China. He has banned the export of advanced chips. Plus, Europe is targeting Chinese EVs. Tariffs on these cars are as high as 45%. Trump wants to tighten the screws further. He has threatened tariffs of up to 60%, 60. So the pressure on China is unlikely to ease, not anytime soon, which brings us back to the question, how far can this stimulus help? Can it offset the growing trade challenges? Reports say the impact of the stimulus will be limited. Beijing is yet to spell out its plans. Some observers expect a large stimulus package or direct aid to Chinese citizens. What Beijing needs, though, is a long-term solution. Exports are critical for their economy. They contribute close to 20% of China's GDP, and Xi Jinping must find a way to revive exports. He has two options. Negotiate with the West, promise some concessions, and in return seek more favorable trade terms. That is option one. The second option is riskier. If China feels boxed in, it could respond militarily. Use the PLA, their army, to apply pressure on rivals. How? With more provocations and different flashpoints. In fact, this could already be happening. Tensions are high in the Taiwan Strait. Today, Taipei raised a warning. China has deployed its largest naval fleet in the region. Nearly 90 ships have been dispatched. Taiwan says it is on high alert. Beijing is putting pressure on the Philippines as well. 6 days back, China's Coast Guard targeted vessels from Manila. They fired water cannons on them. And this is an old playbook. We've seen this before. China uses its military to distract people from domestic problems. But this time, the stakes are far higher. As China faces more economic pressures, the risk of a military misadventure is growing. And if that happens, tariffs alone won't be enough to rein in a belligerent Beijing.